What you think you know about angels is about to be turned upside down. Forget the images of creatures with harps and white wings. We're diving into a world where cherubs have 4 faces, and fiery seraphim guard God's throne. This revelation isn't just surprising, it's practically unknown. And what if I told you that angels have more to do with celestial battles and divine protection than playing soothing tunes on clouds? Buckle up, because we're about to unveil secrets that will challenge everything you believed about the heavenly realm, promising to change your view of the spiritual world forever. Are you ready for the truth? Most people have a misconceived perception of celestial beings, at least according to the Bible. Today we're going to focus on the celestial beings accurately described in the scriptures. But first, let's understand how the vast majority mistakenly visualizes these heavenly entities. Typically, when thinking of celestial beings, the image that comes to many minds is angels depicted as humanoid figures with large feathered wings, often displaying halos and sometimes carrying harps or trumpets. These figures, deeply rooted in the cultural and religious fabric, are generally presented as humanoid beings adorned with broad feathered wings and radiant halos, and occasionally musical instruments like harps and trumpets. This portrayal has been strongly influenced by Renaissance art, literature, and later, popular culture. Historically, art and literature have played fundamental roles in shaping our understanding and perception of these celestial entities. From the paintings of Raphael and Belli to the verses of John Milton's Paradise Lost, angels have been humanized, making them both accessible and, at the same time, supernatural. This anthropomorphism reflects humanity's desire to comprehend the divine, to narrow the vast chasm between the mortal and the eternal. Moreover, movies, TV shows, and even Christmas imagery, especially in the West, have reinforced this representation, often diluting the deep spiritual meaning of these beings into mere decorative ideas or fantastical characters. Celestial beings are not cute or gentle creatures, spending their days playing harps. They are beings of unimaginable power. They don't look like Cupid. They are true spiritual entities with real power. The fact that these celestial beings can stand in the presence of the Lord and behold his face reveals their power. We, in our mortal bodies and with all our sins, cannot stand before the Lord and see his face, for God's word tells us that no man has seen God and lived. Yet, angels can see the Lord. Listen to how Angel Gabriel introduces himself in Luke 1:19. The angel answered, "I am Gabriel, who stands in the presence of God. I have been sent to speak to you and to bring you this good news." Gabriel stands in the presence of the Lord himself. If we were to see the Lord's face in all his holiness and glory, our spirit would leave our body faster than we can blink. Angels, a single angel killed 185,000 Assyrian soldiers in one night. Angels, an angel shut the lions' mouths. Angels, an angel rolled away the stone from Jesus' tomb. Angels, an angel guided Philip to the Ethiopian eunuch for a divine appointment. Angels, an angel freed Peter from Herod's prison. These benevolent beings are sent by God as messengers, protectors, and guides for humanity. However, cherubim, under the broad umbrella of celestial entities, stand out from traditional angels in both function and appearance. They are not ordinary angels, nor even archangels. They are unique, a type of their own among celestial beings, distinct from isolated angels. The Bible gives us several detailed descriptions of cherubim that starkly contrast with the common perception of angels. The most vivid description of cherubim is in the book of Ezekiel. In Ezekiel 1:5-11, it says, "From the midst of the storm came 4 living creatures. They looked like humans, but each had 4 faces and 4 wings. Their legs were straight, and the soles of their feet were like the sole of a calf's foot, and they sparkled like the color of burnished bronze. Under their wings, on their 4 sides, they had human hands." These 4 creatures had their faces and their wings arranged in such a way. Their wings touched one another. They did not turn when they moved. Each one went straight forward. As for the appearance of their faces, each had the face of a man in front. All 4 had the face of a lion on the right side, the face of an ox on the left side, and all 4 had the face of an eagle. And in Ezekiel 10:20-22, "These are the living creatures I had seen beneath the God of Israel by the river Shebar, and I knew they were cherubim. Each had 4 faces and each 4 wings, and underneath their wings was the likeness of human hands. As for the likeness of their faces, they were the same faces whose appearance I had seen by the river Hebar. Each one moved straight ahead. These passages show us that cherubim are very different from the conventional image of angels. They are not gentle beings with feathered wings and halos, but rather powerful, multifaceted creatures with multiple faces and wings, a representation that challenges our understanding and makes us reflect on the diversity and power of the heavenly realm. In Ezekiel's vision, the cherubim are described as having multiple faces, that of a man, a lion, an ox, and an eagle. Here, in the presence of this celestial entity, we encounter one of the most fascinating aspects of the creature. It possesses the faces of earthly creatures. We know that cherubim were created before the world. As in the book of Job, we see that the sons of God who were angels rejoiced when God created the earth. Job 38, 6-7. It's clear to us that angels perceived the creation of the earth and therefore also perceived the creation of all living creatures on earth. Simply put, this means they perceive the creatures they resemble. Isn't that intriguing? After studying this area of Scripture, I've never seen men, lions, oxen, and eagles in the same way again. This point might not be surprising to everyone, but when I understood that this celestial creature has these 4 faces and yet predates all these 4 creatures, I was utterly amazed. Thus, we can agree that cherubim are unique creatures. They bear the appearance of earthly creatures that had not yet been created when the cherubim themselves were. That's why I describe these wonderful celestial creatures as the most mysterious, because they clearly have a connection to earth, yet the Bible does not reveal a vast amount of information about them. Imagine the vision of this extraordinary creature before your eyes. The cherubim, as described in the passages of Ezekiel, with 4 faces looking at you. The human, the lion, the ox, and the eagle, all unified in a single being. Its form is human-like yet celestial, adorned with 4 wings that seem to carry it effortlessly through the heavens. Straight legs and feet, like polished bronze, reveal a majestic presence, while under those mighty wings, human hands are revealed, merging the divine and terrestrial in an unimaginable way. Can you imagine the mix of emotions flooding you as you see this celestial being? Fear and awe intertwine as you find yourself at once terrified and moved by its presence. The realization of being before a creature of such divine significance humbles your soul, for the cherubim are not ordinary beings. They guard the very presence of the Almighty. Cherubim are a specific type of celestial beings mentioned in the Bible, often associated with angels and considered a high order of angels. However, it's important to note that cherubim and angels are not necessarily interchangeable terms, as not all angels are described as cherubim in the Bible. Cherubim are tasked with guarding the presence of God and serving in celestial worship, being closely associated with the throne of God. On the other hand, angels, in a more general sense, refer to spiritual beings that serve as God's messengers and carry out various tasks according to God's will. The term angel is more broadly used to describe different ranks and functions of celestial beings, including messengers, protectors, and guides. Some angels are named in the Bible, like Michael and Gabriel, and have specific roles in certain biblical events. So, while cherubim can be considered a specific type of angel, not all angels are necessarily cherubim. Cherubim have unique characteristics and roles that distinguish them from other angelic beings mentioned in the Bible. In the spiritual realm, there are many celestial beings that we cannot fully comprehend. We know some of them, like the Seraphim, burning creatures that stand in the presence of God and shine with holiness. There are also archangels, powerful messengers of God who bring important messages to us, representing victory and justice. Can you imagine how incredible that vision would be? These celestial beings are incredibly beautiful and powerful. But let's pause for a moment. While the Bible gives us glimpses of some celestial beings, there's so much we don't know about the spiritual realm. Ever wondered about other celestial beings that might exist, ones the Bible doesn't mention? What kind of incredible things might we see in heaven? Isaiah 6 verse 1-7 gives us a breathtaking vision of divine majesty and holiness. In this vision, the seraphim are worshiping God, proclaiming His holiness over and over. It's a powerful scene that shows us a glimpse of the glory that fills the whole earth. Isaiah's encounter with these beings, especially when one of them touches his lips with a live coal, reveals the depth of God's mercy and the transformation that happens when someone meets the sacred. The word seraphim literally translates to burning or blazing. And this doesn't just refer to their radiant appearance. It also symbolizes the intensity of their worship. Their devotion is a response to God's unmatched holiness and majesty. And it's as if their entire being is consumed by this fervent zeal to honor Him. From the vastness of galaxies stretching across the cosmos to the intricate design of the human soul, everything in creation is touched by the brilliance of the Creator. And it's only fitting that every angel, every celestial being, every part of the universe, down to the tiniest atom, resonates with songs of worship for the one who spoke them into existence. God, in His unmatched majesty, wonder, and glory, didn't just create the world, He breathed life, purpose, and wonder into it. Such a magnificent Creator deserves our deepest reverence and constant worship. And in the heavenly assembly, there are countless beings who recognize this and respond to this divine mandate of worship. God is worthy of worship, and He deserves to be adored. Among the heavenly beings we have never seen, the Seraphims stand out. They're not just spectators, they're active participants in an eternal symphony of praise. These luminous beings, with their fiery essence, embody a worship that is fervent and pure. Their name, which denotes fiery passion, reflects the intensity of their devotion. It's as though they were forged from the flames of worship itself, embodying a love so deep and pure it can only be described as burning. If these magnificent creatures who stand so close to the throne of God are consumed with the desire to worship Him, how much more should we, as beneficiaries of His grace and love, be drawn to praise and honor the great Creator? In the presence of such inspiring devotion, may our own hearts be ignited with that same burning passion to worship and exalt the Lord of all creation. In Isaiah's encounter with the seraphim, one of the most striking features is their 6 wings. With 2 wings, they cover their faces, not out of fear, but out of profound reverence and respect in the presence of the Holy One. Even the holiest of angels shield their faces, acknowledging the unparalleled glory of God. Another pair of wings is used to cover their feet. In the context of biblical times, feet were often seen as the most contaminated part of the body, as they were constantly in contact with the dust and dirt of the earth. So, the seraphim covering their feet is seen as a symbolic act of humility, a trait representing a desire to present nothing impure before the Lord. The remaining wings are used for flight. This doesn't just signify the ability to move. It represents readiness. The seraphim are always prepared, constantly waiting on God and ready to respond immediately to His commands or proclamations. Their continuous flight around the throne is a testament to their vigilant and tireless service to God. But it's not just their physical form or function that grabs our attention. It's their declaration, their resounding exclamation of "Holy, holy, holy is the Lord Almighty. The whole earth is full of His glory." This isn't a casual statement. It's a profound proclamation that echoes the ultimate wrath. The threefold repetition of the word holy isn't just a poetic device. In Hebrew culture, repetition emphasizes the utmost significance. By declaring God's holiness 3 times, the seraphim emphasize His supreme and absolute holiness, a holiness that is beyond comparison and without equal. Furthermore, the impact of their proclamation is tangibly felt, with the very foundations of the temple trembling. This reaction is not merely a physical phenomenon, but a deeply spiritual one. It serves as a reminder that true worship, born out of a genuine recognition of the nature of God, has the power to move not only hearts, but the very fabric of our surroundings. The temple filling with smoke in response to their voices underscores again the sheer weight of God's glory and presence. Throughout the scriptures, smoke often symbolizes the overwhelming presence of God, a powerful reminder of His majesty and holiness that permeates all things. Just as it was with the Israelites at Mount Sinai, here too, the smoke represents a palpable divine presence, a testament to God's active engagement with His creation. Continuous worship is the essence of the seraphim's existence. Their entire being revolves around recognizing, revering, and proclaiming the majesty of God. Through them, we gain insight into the heart of true worship. It's not about rituals or routines, but rather a genuine, passionate response to the Creator of all. As we dive deeper into the roles and attributes of the seraphim, we're encouraged to reflect on our own responses to God. The holiness of God, as well as the seraphim's primary purpose of worshiping and declaring His greatness, prompts us to ask ourselves, what can we, as humans, learn from these celestial beings about our relationship with the Creator? One fundamental lesson the seraphim offer is the essence of true worship. For them, worship isn't a periodic activity. It's tempting for us to confine worship to certain moments, places, or events. But observing the seraphim, we're reminded that worship is not just an act, but a continuous attitude of the heart, an unending acknowledgement of God's sovereignty in every aspect of our existence. Additionally, the humility of the seraphim, despite their grandeur and nearness to God, challenges our human tendencies. We often seek recognition or aspire to elevate our own status, yet these celestial beings, in all their splendor, exemplify ultimate humility before divine majesty. They remind us that true greatness lies in recognizing our place before God and serving Him with a humble heart. The act of purification performed by the seraphim in Isaiah's experience is also a profound reflection of God's grace. Just as the seraph purified Isaiah's lips, preparing him for his prophetic ministry, God, in His mercy, purifies and prepares each of us for our unique callings. The seraphim become instruments of God's sanctifying power, demonstrating that when God calls, He also equips and refines. The fiery appearance of the seraphim, resonating with the meaning of their name, also carries symbolic significance for the faithful. In the Bible, fire frequently represents purification and transformation. For believers, this is an allegory of the transformative power of God's presence in our lives. As we draw closer to God, we embark on a journey of sanctification, a process through which the impurities of our lives are cleansed, shaping us more and more into the likeness of Christ. One powerful analogy we can draw is from the seraphim's continuous proclamation of God's holiness. Holiness, by its nature, is something set apart, distinct from the common or ordinary. To call something holy is to declare its intrinsic uniqueness, a quality that elevates it above everything else. The seraphim, by crying out, "Holy, holy, holy," aren't just recognizing God's uniqueness. They are emphasizing a divine attribute that permeates His entire being and every one of His actions, His transcendent holiness. The Bible highlights attributes of God such as love, mercy, and justice, but none of these can be fully grasped without first understanding His holiness. His love is a holy love, not a fleeting or changeable emotion. His justice is rooted in His holiness, ensuring it is never arbitrary, but always fair and pure. Every characteristic of God, every action He undertakes, is deeply intertwined with His holiness. This is the foundation upon which all other attributes rest. The seraphim, who are in God's immediate presence, understand this at a profound level. Their declaration serves as a powerful reminder that our perception of God must always begin with His holiness. This understanding shapes how we approach Him, how we worship Him, and how we live in response to Him. The Bible calls us to be holy, for I am holy. 1 Peter 1:16. This is not just a call for moral purity, but a call to set ourselves apart for God's purposes, aligning our lives with His character, and striving to reflect His image to the world. God's holiness serves as a beacon, illuminating the darkness of our world and the shadows within our own hearts. It reveals the areas in our lives that are inconsistent with His character, driving us towards repentance and transformation. Moreover, as we internalize the significance of God's holiness, it profoundly influences the way we perceive sin. Sin becomes not merely the breaking of a rule, but an affront to the very nature of a holy God. Understanding God's holiness, as the seraphim demonstrate, brings about a profound sense of reverence and awe. It redefines our understanding of worship, transforming it from mere routine into a sincere response to a God whose essence is incomparable and unmatched. This shift in perspective moves us from passive observance to active worship, aligning our hearts and minds with the rhythms of heaven. To truly know God is to know His holiness. As we delve into the Scriptures, engage in prayer, partake in worship, and go about our daily lives, may the cry of the seraphim resonate within our souls, drawing us ever closer to the heart of a holy God and reshaping our lives in the light of His profound holiness. As believers, we are called to be witnesses of God's love and grace, just as the seraphim ceaselessly declare God's glory in the heavenly realms. We are entrusted with the mission to spread the good news of God's love and salvation here on earth. Ultimately, the unwavering focus of the seraphim on God emphasizes the importance of setting our sights on the eternal, rather than being distracted by the temporary. In a world overflowing with distractions, the example of the seraphim teaches us what it means to have a singular focus on God. They do not waver, they do not get distracted, and they do not lose sight of their purpose. This constancy is an inspiration for the faithful, urging us to remain steadfast in our faith, unshakable in the face of the challenges and distractions of the world. In summary, while the seraphim occupy a unique place in the celestial order, they offer us invaluable insight into the nature of God and how we are called to relate to Him. May we find inspiration in their ceaseless worship and deep understanding of God's holiness, so that our lives might reflect this eternal truth and draw us ever closer to the divine heart. As we draw nearer to Him, we undergo a process of sanctification, where the impurities of our lives are cleansed, shaping us more and more into the likeness of Christ. Another powerful analogy can be seen in the seraphim's unending proclamation of God's holiness. Holiness, by its very essence, stands apart from the common or the ordinary. When something is described as holy, it carries with it a unique distinction that elevates it above all else. The seraphim, with their fervent cry of "Holy, holy, holy," are not merely acknowledging God's uniqueness, but are emphasizing a divine attribute that permeates every part of who He is and all that He does, His transcendental holiness. The Bible highlights God's love, mercy, justice, and many other attributes, but none of these can be truly understood or appreciated without first grasping the profound holiness of God. His love is a holy love, not a fickle or changeable affection. His justice is rooted in His holiness, ensuring it is never arbitrary, but always right and pure. Every facet of God's character, every action He undertakes, is deeply intertwined with His holiness. This holiness is the foundation upon which all other attributes stand. The seraphim, those who dwell in the immediate presence of God, understand this profoundly. Their declaration is a stark reminder that our perception of God must always begin with His holiness. God's holiness shapes how we approach Him, how we worship Him, and how we choose to live in response to Him. The Bible says, "Be holy, for I am holy." 1 Peter 1 verse 16. This command is not merely a call for moral purity, but an invitation to set ourselves apart for God's purposes, to align our lives with His character, and to strive to reflect His image in the world around us. The holiness of God serves as a beacon, casting light into the darkness of our world and into the shadows of our own hearts. It reveals those areas in our lives that are out of alignment with His character, pushing us toward repentance and genuine transformation. Moreover, as we internalize the significance of God's holiness, it changes how we view sin. Sin becomes not just a violation of a rule, but an affront to the very essence of a holy God. And as the seraphim's reverence demonstrates, understanding God's holiness brings about a profound sense of awe and respect. This redefines our understanding of worship, making it less about routine and more about a heartfelt response to a God whose nature is unparalleled and unmatched. Truly knowing God is to know Him in His holiness. As we dive into the Scriptures, pray, engage in worship, and go through our day-to-day lives, may the cry of the seraphim echo in our souls, drawing us nearer to the heart of a holy God and reshaping our lives in the light of His profound holiness. As believers, we are called to be witnesses of God's love and grace, just as the seraphim ceaselessly declare God's glory in the heavenly realms. We are entrusted with the mission of spreading the good news of God's love and salvation here on earth. Ultimately, the unwavering focus of the seraphim on God underscores the importance of setting our sights on the eternal rather than being consumed by the temporal. In a world full of distractions, the seraphim exemplify what it means to have a singular focus on God. They do not waver, get distracted, or lose sight of their purpose. This steadfastness serves as an inspiration for believers to remain firm in their faith, unshakable even in the face of the world's many challenges and distractions. Though the seraphim are celestial beings far removed from our daily experience, their existence and role in the spiritual realm offer valuable lessons for us. Their ceaseless worship and proclamation of God's holiness remind us that we should seek a deeper understanding and a closer relationship with the Almighty. They show us the value of unwavering devotion, profound humility, and the vital role we play as messengers of God's sanctifying grace. Now, speaking of angels, these fascinating creatures are a fundamental part of the spiritual realm, playing a significant role both in the Bible and in Christian faith. As we explore the universe of angels, we gain a deeper understanding of the divine plan for our lives and come to appreciate the divine beings who operate behind the scenes, protecting and guiding us. However, there is often some confusion about angels, especially when ancient Jewish texts, like the Book of Enoch, mix with the information found in the Bible. To clarify, let's highlight some angels named both in the Book of Enoch and in the Bible, and then focus specifically on the angels mentioned within the biblical canon. Among the most renowned angels we have Michael, known in both Jewish and Christian traditions as a warrior protector, and Gabriel, described as one of the archangels tasked with delivering divine messages to humans. Raphael, associated with healing, and Uriel, linked to wisdom and guidance, are other examples of archangels whose stories inspire us and teach about the multifaceted nature of God. In the biblical canon, only 4 angels are named: Michael, the archangel; Gabriel, God's messenger; Lucifer, the fallen one; and Abaddon, also known as Apollyon, the destroyer. Gabriel and Michael are particularly highlighted for their significant roles in the spiritual realm. Gabriel is an imposing and glorious figure, mentioned in both the Old and New Testaments, and is considered one of the most prominent angels. His presence is a reminder of God's power and majesty, operating through heavenly messengers to fulfill his divine plan. In some Christian circles, Gabriel is seen as an archangel, though the Bible never explicitly mentions him in this way. The first time Gabriel appears in the Bible is in the book of Daniel, in the Old Testament. At that time, Daniel was living in Babylon, where the Jews were exiled. In the 8th chapter of Daniel, he has a vision of a ram with 2 horns and a goat with a single horn, but doesn't understand the vision's meaning and prays for an explanation. In response to Daniel's prayer, Gabriel appears and provides him with the interpretation of the vision. Gabriel explains that the ram with 2 horns represents the kings of Media and Persia, while the goat with a single horn represents the king of Greece. Gabriel goes on to describe how the king of Greece will rise to power and eventually conquer the Persian Empire. This encounter with Gabriel highlights his role as God's messenger, tasked with delivering important messages to his people. Gabriel's appearance to Daniel underscores the significance of the vision and its implications for the future of the Israelites. It shows us that Gabriel is a majestic and awe-inspiring figure, one entrusted with the responsibility of conveying divine messages. Throughout the Bible, Gabriel is associated with delivering divine messages to God's people, setting the tone for his important role in the spiritual realm. Gabriel makes another significant appearance in the book of Daniel, specifically in chapter 9, in response to a prayer made by Daniel. During this encounter, Gabriel provides Daniel with insight and understanding, also referring to the Anointed One, a term used for the Messiah. Then, in the New Testament, in the book of Luke, Gabriel visits Mary to announce that she has been chosen by God to bear his son, Jesus Christ. This announcement demonstrates that God is constantly involved in human lives, sometimes sending his messengers to convey pivotal messages. The story of Gabriel teaches us that we should remain open and receptive to God's messages, even when they challenge our understanding or expectations. God cares deeply for his people and is always attentive to us, showing that he is not a distant God, but rather one who is intimately concerned and involved in the lives of his children. By addressing people like Daniel, Zechariah, and Mary by name, Gabriel shows us that God knows each of us personally and cares about us individually. Reflecting on Gabriel's appearances, we're reminded of God's nearness and his direct intervention in our lives, bringing messages of hope, guidance, and revelations of his divine plans. May we embrace these stories as reminders of God's constant love and care for us, inspiring us to live with faith and a willingness to receive His messages. What we need to remember is that God knows exactly where we are in our lives. He knows our struggles, our hopes, and our fears. And Gabriel's role in the Bible reveals this comforting truth to us. In Daniel 10:13, the archangel Michael is described as one of the chief princes. This phrase suggests that if Michael is one of the chief princes, there may be other powerful spiritual beings with similar ranks, about whom the Bible is largely silent. This is a plausible conclusion, and it adds to our understanding of the heavenly hierarchy. Unlike other angels who remain unnamed throughout the Old and New Testaments, Michael's name is frequently mentioned in significant contexts, marking him as a key figure in the spiritual realm. The book of Revelation portrays Michael as a warrior angel. He leads a heavenly battle against Satan and his followers, triumphing over them. Revelation 12:7-9 narrates this battle. And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon and his angels fought back. But they were defeated, and there was no longer any place for them in heaven. And the great dragon was thrown down, that ancient serpent, who is called the devil and Satan, the deceiver of the whole world. He was thrown down to the earth, and his angels were thrown down with him. Whenever Michael appears in the Bible, he is portrayed as engaged in a struggle, battling or confronting evil forces and spiritual principalities. His primary role is to defend the things of God and protect God's people. This is most evident in the book of Daniel. While both Michael and Gabriel are mentioned in various books of the Bible, Daniel is the only book that refers to both. Daniel 10:7-13 describes a profound vision that Daniel experiences. He is the only one who sees it, while those around him do not see the vision, but are overcome with great fear and flee to hide. Left alone, Daniel witnesses this great vision and is so overwhelmed that he loses all his strength. But then a hand touches him, helping him to his feet. The angel speaks to him, saying, "O Daniel, man greatly loved, understand the words that I speak to you and stand upright, for now I have been sent to you." As he spoke, Daniel, trembling, rose to his feet. The angel continues, explaining that from the moment Daniel set his heart to understand and humbled himself before God, his prayers were heard. However, the prince of the kingdom of Persia resisted him for 21 days until Michael, one of the chief princes, came to assist him. This story reveals that angels operate within a structured hierarchy and have different ranks and roles. The passage also implies that powerful spiritual beings may represent nations or regions, as indicated by the mention of the prince of the kingdom of Persia. This aligns with the New Testament idea that angelic ranks are organized and that there exists a hierarchy among these spiritual entities, each with specific responsibilities and areas of influence. This confrontation between spiritual beings gives us insight into the spiritual battles that influence our world, revealing a realm of conflict that exists beyond our physical senses. Michael, in particular, has a significant connection to the nation of Israel, and he is prophesied to play a crucial role in the end times, providing protection to Israel during the period known as the Great Tribulation. He is more than just a warrior. He has the unique assignment of defending Israel, demonstrating his role as a leader among the angels and one who fights on behalf of God's people. Despite Michael's power and heroic acts, it's essential to remember that he is still a created being, a servant of God, and therefore should not be worshipped. He exemplifies the power and order within the spiritual realm, but like all creatures, he serves a purpose ordained by God. This narrative offers us a glimpse into the complex structure of the spiritual world and the ongoing battles that directly impact our physical reality and human history. By understanding the roles of angels like Michael and Gabriel, we gain a deeper appreciation for the depth of divine intervention in human affairs and the constant struggle between good and evil. Michael is not equal to God, and therefore he should never be worshipped. Throughout the Bible, whenever people attempt to bow down to or worship angels, the angels immediately stop them. Angels are, after all, serving spirits. We don't always realize what God is doing for us through them. Psalm 91, verses 1-9 reminds us that those who dwell in the shelter of the Most High will rest in the shadow of the Almighty. We can declare that the Lord is our refuge and our fortress, our God in whom we place our trust. He promises to deliver us from the fowler's snare and from deadly pestilence. He will cover us with his feathers, and under his wings we will find refuge. His faithfulness will be our shield and rampart. We need not fear the terror of night, nor the arrow that flies by day, nor the pestilence that stalks in darkness, nor the plague that destroys at midday. 1,000 may fall at our side, 10,000 at our right hand, but it will not come near us. We will observe with our eyes and see the punishment of the wicked, for we have made the Lord, our refuge, the Most High, our dwelling place. As believers, we know that God is always with us, protecting us and guiding us through life's challenges. Often, though, we don't even recognize the extent of what God is doing for us behind the scenes. Sometimes, we may be going through a difficult situation or facing a dangerous circumstance and come out unscathed without even realizing that it was God who protected us. Today, I want to remind you of God's protection over your life. The Bible tells us that God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in times of trouble. When we put our trust in Him, we can be assured that He will protect us and keep us safe from all harm. Psalm 91:11-12 assures us that He will command His angels concerning us to guard us in all our ways. They will lift us up in their hands so that we will not strike our foot against a stone. And yet, there are countless times when we don't even realize that God is watching over us, shielding us from harm. It could be that we're driving and don't realize that we narrowly avoided a serious accident. Or maybe we're on our way home from work, unaware that we've been protected from a potential attack. We might be going through a challenging period without realizing that God has been working behind the scenes to protect and guide us. This is why it's so important to trust in God's protection, even when we can't see it. We might not understand why certain things happen or why we go through particular trials, but we can be confident that God is always working for our good, even when we don't realize it. You and I know that God has angels, and the Bible tells us that He assigns these angels the task of taking care of us. There are angels charged with protecting us in all our ways, wherever we're traveling. God's angels are watching over us, whether we're on our way to work, coming back home, heading to the store, or anywhere else. There's at least one angel taking care of you. To this world, you might not matter. To this world, you might be irrelevant. To this world, you might just be another number or another body. But to God, you matter enough for Him to assign His angels to look after you. God has given you a mission to take care of you. You matter. You matter a lot to God. Sometimes, we don't even realize what God is doing for us. In Christianity, angels play a significant role in our lives and families, as well as in all areas of our existence. As you listen to me now, it's quite possible that at least one angel is present in your home. Isn't that wonderful? Psalm 91:11-12 reminds us that God will command His angels concerning us to guard us in all our ways. They will lift us up in their hands so that we will not strike our foot against a stone. Often, we underestimate the angels mentioned in this part of the Bible and don't think about the work they do to keep us safe. We should truly thank God for sending angels to protect us. The president has the Secret Service protecting him, the best humans taking care of him. But you, on the other hand, have secret angels looking out for you, watching your back. There are times when God sent angels for special missions. God sent angels to Lot, Abraham's nephew, who parted ways and went to Sodom and Gomorrah. The story I'm going to tell today speaks about the strength of faith and divine protection, elements that have spanned centuries and remain relevant today. Our journey begins in the ancient city of Sodom, a place marked by wickedness to such an extent that God decided to intervene in a drastic way. But even in this scenario of judgment, mercy was present through the figure of Lot and his family. One night, 2 angels visited Sodom and found Lot sitting at the city gate. Upon seeing them, Lot welcomed them with great respect and hospitality, unaware of how crucial this encounter would be. These heavenly messengers had a mission: to lead Lot and his family out of the city before its destruction. The biblical narrative, specifically in Genesis 19, reveals the urgency and divine mercy in saving Lot and his family from the impending catastrophe. This account makes us reflect on how often we are protected from dangers without even realizing it. Just as the angels guided Lot, it is believed that there are angels around us, protecting us and interceding on our behalf. In everyday life, we may not see angels ascending and descending on a heavenly ladder like Jacob did, but the message is clear. We are under the constant watch of divine forces. Jesus, in Matthew 18 verse 10, reminds us of the importance of not underestimating the smallest among us, for their angels have direct access to the presence of God. This reinforces the idea that each of us has special protection, a guard that accompanies us and keeps us from all evil. The truth is, we often go through difficulties and challenges without realizing the extent of divine protection over our lives. In Isaiah 43:2, there's a powerful promise that assures us, even when passing through deep waters or fire, we will not be consumed or drowned. God is with us at every moment, protecting us and guiding us through every obstacle. Romans 8:28 reiterates this promise, assuring us that God works in all circumstances for the good of those who love Him. This is a comforting truth, especially in times when we feel alone or challenged by life's adversities. So, if you're going through a tough time, remember that you are not alone. The presence of the Lord is with you, guarding and strengthening you. God invites us to seek refuge and strength in Him, to pour our hearts out in His presence, trusting that He cares for us deeply, as taught in 1 Peter 5:7. Therefore I encourage you to draw near to God, to seek His presence sincerely. Find a quiet place to talk with Him. Open your heart, share your worries and your dreams. God is always ready to listen, to comfort, and to strengthen us. In His presence, we can find peace, comfort, and the assurance that, no matter what we face, we are not alone. God, with His infinite love and constant protection, is always with us. His presence provides a shield, a place of refuge, where we can find strength when life gets overwhelming. And it's not just His Spirit that surrounds us, it's also His angels who are actively working on our behalf. These heavenly beings are charged with protecting us, guiding us, and sometimes intervening in ways we may never even realize. It's humbling to think about, isn't it? To know that in every moment, whether we're awake or asleep, seen or unseen, God has placed a watch over us. We often take our safety and peace for granted, but God's angels are there, standing guard. This truth should fill us with gratitude, knowing that our lives are precious to Him, and He has assigned celestial beings to watch over us. Consider how incredible this is. The Creator of the universe, with all His power and majesty, cares enough about each of us individually to assign His angels to us. We might feel small, even insignificant in the grand scheme of things, but to God we matter immensely. And this is why He commands His angels concerning us to protect and guide us, to help us navigate the challenges of life. Psalm 34 verse 7 tells us that the angel of the Lord encamps around those who fear Him and delivers them. This verse is a reminder of God's promise to be with us, to have His angels stationed around us like a protective army. Whether we face danger, temptation, or hardship, God's angels are there, encamped around us, ensuring our safety and guiding us on the right path. Just think about that for a moment. Imagine a vast army of angels surrounding you, protecting you from harm, guiding you through life's difficulties. This isn't just a comforting thought, it's a biblical promise, a truth we can cling to. God's angels are real, and they are actively working for our good, often in ways that we may never see or understand fully. When we look back at our lives, there may be moments we can point to, times when we felt an unexplainable peace in the midst of chaos or narrowly avoided a harmful situation. These moments may very well be instances of angelic intervention. God's angels are always at work, and even if we don't always recognize their presence, we can trust that they are there, fulfilling their divine purpose. It's not just during times of crisis that God's angels are with us, though. They are with us in the everyday moments, too. When we are driving, walking, working, or resting, His angels are present, watching over us. They're there in the mundane as much as they are in the extraordinary. God's care for us is constant, and His angels are ever vigilant. In Hebrews 1:14, we're reminded that angels are ministering spirits sent to serve those who will inherit salvation. This verse is powerful because it reveals the role of angels as servants to God's people. They are not just observers, but active participants in God's plan for us. They minister to us, supporting us on our journey, helping us fulfill the calling that God has placed on our lives. So whenever you feel alone, remember that you're not. God's presence is with you, and His angels are near. They are serving you, protecting you, guiding you, and carrying out God's will in your life. You are never abandoned, even in the moments when it feels like you're all alone. God's promise is true. His angels are always with us. This is why it's so essential to cultivate an awareness of God's presence in our lives. When we become mindful of His constant protection, it brings us peace. Knowing that His angels surround us can help us face life's challenges with courage, knowing that we are safeguarded by divine protection. We may not always understand how, but we can trust that God's angels are working on our behalf. Sometimes God's angels appear in ways that are more visible, like in biblical stories, and other times they work quietly, unseen. Their presence, whether visible or hidden, is always purposeful. Each of us has a unique path, a journey that God has planned, and His angels are part of that journey, ensuring we are led safely along the way. This divine protection doesn't mean we won't face trials or challenges. Life has its share of difficulties, but God's promise is that He will never leave us. His angels are there to help us navigate those tough times, to strengthen us and to remind us of His unwavering love. Even when we walk through dark valleys, His angels are with us, lighting the path forward. In Psalm 91, verses 14-16, God promises, "Because He loves me, I will rescue Him, I will protect Him, for He acknowledges my name." This is a beautiful assurance that when we place our trust in God, He responds with protection and care. He is our refuge, and His angels play a crucial role in guarding us. His love for us is the reason He assigns them to watch over us. As we continue to trust in God, may we remember that His angels are present in every moment. They are a gift of His grace, a sign of His love, and a testament to His faithfulness. In both the highs and lows, in times of joy and times of hardship, God's angels remain by our side. Their presence is a reminder that we are never forgotten, never alone, and always under the watchful eye of our Heavenly Father.